welcome to episode 13 of Reputation Rescue at Lazio with me, the United City FM. Welcome along, it's great to have you with me. So we've been through a transfer window, the summer transfer window. We're just about to begin our second season at Lazio. The first season, if we go into the league table and go back a season, you'll see that we finished in 5th place in the end, which wasn't bad at all. We were sitting in the top 4 for quite a long time of it though, so this coming season I really desperately want to finish in that top 4. That's the aim for this season, get Champions League football, and then the following season is to really try and assault Zebra at the top, go hunting for zebras as we call it in this particular series, Zebra being Juventus in the particular save. So that's where we're heading. In terms of what we've done in the summer, before I tell you that, this is the expectation for the season from the board, and the prediction from the critiques, etc., is that we're going to finish 6th again in that sort of area. I'm desperate for that top 4, as I say. We don't have anybody in this team, the dream team, unfortunately, but we have been busy in the transfer market, relatively so. Not a huge amount, but enough just to make things a bit interesting, let's say. You can see that we are well within budgets, mostly. We've got a sale leaving the club in January, which will sort all of this lot out for the wage budget. But everything else is looking healthy. But we have done some business. So if we go into the transfer history, you can see on this side of the page, we have made a bit of money, 29.5 million. We let the likes of a couple of guys that were on loan last season that we never played. They were always in the under-20s. Wallace, him. He's gone. And Fidanza, and then Casido left, and Johnny left. And I think that was mostly it from the first team. A few other periphery players that weren't getting a look in from the under-20s, just to get a bit of money together. Lucas Leiva is on his way out. You can see here he's leaving in January, just because I think at the age of 33 these are going to continue to lessen now. He's got some very good mentals and technicals, but his physicals are going to go, and I think the rest of it's going to dip as well. So he might play he won't play much of a part in between now and January, but the best we could do was get him out in January, just because that's who came in from a Brazilian club. So that's the outs. And that's not too bad. We made a bit of money, but we've also spent a bit. So we made about 30 million and we've spent 45.5. And I think we've done a good job. Now, not a lot of these are coming in directly into our first team. This is more about making the squad a better squad. So the first one is Escalante. Now, he was a player that was bought into the club and waiting till this point for the transfer to go through. I didn't do this. The club had done this right the way before I even joined. He's not a player I would have bought in personally. I suspect that he's going to be in and around the periphery of the club for the forthcoming season, and then he might not even be here next season. We'll see. But he's come into the club, a decent utility player. We'll get a bit of game time here and there, but I'm not planning to build around him particularly at all. So that was the first one. Locatelli, if we click on him, most people know about Locatelli, don't they? But a really good young Italian player, and the reason I bought him in, other than just being good, is that he's going to be the rotation replacement for Milinkovic-Savic, and if we ever lose Milinkovic-Savic, then I think we've got a ready-made replacement here to progress and move forward. So that was the reason that I bought him into the club. So he will play in the box-to-box midfielder role in our setup. And play, as I say, in rotation with Milinkovic-Savic, who is still at the club. We didn't, in the end, have to sell any of our big guys, which I was really pleased about, to be honest. I think we got a nucleus of a really good 11. We just had to make the squad better and more competitive. So Locatelli comes in and helps us do that. Another one everybody's going to know about, Ryan Gravenberch. Bought him in from Ajax. He's going to come in and cover the Alberto role. And this is where I thought we lacked a little bit last season, in a couple of other spots as well. But in that central midfield area, when those big guys weren't there, we didn't really have too much of a replacement for them. So I've tried to address that. And with the understanding that this is a 3-season save, remember, we've given ourselves 3 seasons to try and win Serie A. And this is our second season. And the reason I bought these two players in, Locatelli and Gravenberch, is that come next season, they're going to be really at the good point to help us attack Juventus, Zebra in this particular save. So those two players are going to develop through this season and be much better next season for our real assault at Serie A. That's the plan anyway. So that's Gravenberch. The next one, on loan, I just hadn't got enough money to bring in a decent striking option. So I bought in on loan, again, a youngster in Mason Greenwood, who's going to be exceptional for us, I hope. If he can get a bit of game time and get some confidence early, I think we got a really good young player here. And my hope is that we might get him for a second season on loan. That's the plan, to see if we can take him through to the end of the 3 seasons as well, because in the next season, again, he's going to be an awful lot better than he currently is now. So those 3 players were bought in very specifically to back up the big guys, Immobile, Alberto and Milinkovic-Savic, and also because next season they're going to be a darn sight better than they currently are. If we can keep all 3 of them, they're going to help us really do the assault at Serie A next season. This season, try and get into the Champions League, if you remember. That's the plan. And the final one is Roberto Gagliardi. And we bought him in from Inter Milan. And we paid a reasonable fee for him. This was one of our big purchases, really, for the season. And this is the guy that's coming in to take over the Lucas Leiva role. As I say, Lucas Leiva, his physicals were going to die through this season. He's getting a bit old for what I want him to do. So I hunted around. I wanted an Italian, if possible, just to keep the Italian core of the side where possible. And this was the best guy that I could find. So Gagliardini comes in. Only 7.75, not quite as much as I thought it was. The big purchase was Gravenberch, but enough just to, put my faith in him and give him a chance. And he will play in rotation with Jailson, who is has already been in the club, and I think is a reasonable holding midfield player as well. So there's a couple of players that will fight for that particular place in our side. So we are going to keep in the 3-5-2 mostly. We've got this version in the controlled possession style, which will be our main tactic. We've also got this style, which is our counter-attack. So they sit a little bit deeper and counter-attack on teams. But as our attacking option, we are going with the 4-4-2 in the diamond formation. So the diamond stays the same throughout for our central midfield, but the attacking and defending options change a little bit depending on whether we need to go and attack the game or not. So those are the 3 tactics that we've set up and formations that we've set up so far. But of course, as is always the case, we can change them if need be. It's not set in stone, but I like them. I think this works for us reasonably well. For 2/3 of last season, I thought we did exceptionally well with this tactic. And then just in the back half of the first season, it just went awry a little bit. And we had to come in with the 4-4-2 just to renew that impetus a little bit again. And that got us back on track. Switching back to this one, though, for the latter part of the season, did us okay. So this is where we'll start, and we'll see what happens as the season progresses. So what haven't I told you about already? So that's the preview for the season, is that we'll finish in 6th. I really want to finish in 4th. We need to get that Champions League spot. We've been through the transfers, the outs and the ins, and looked at those young players that I bought for the hopefully next season as well to really assault Serie A. So Champions League this season, Serie A title hopefully next season is the plan. Finances are good. Lucas Leiva goes at the end of this calendar year, so that will set out the wage budget in a better way after he's gone. He won't play too much of a place. Won't have too much of a place inside this season. The only thing left to tell you about is the fixture list has been a bit unkind to us to start the season, in that we've got to play Milan today and then Zebra, Juventus, in the very next game. So that's going to be a tricky start. And does that happen again later in the season? It does. So we've got a bit of a tricky situation just at the beginning of the season, but we'll give it as good a go as we can. I think we're in a better position than we were last season, just because our squad is better. I wasn't able to completely change as much as I'd like. The budgets here were not as strong as I really wanted them to be. I think we're in an overall balanced situation of being quite healthy, but our transfer budget didn't quite stretch enough to go and get maybe a defender or a wing back or something as well. It just didn't quite happen. But I'm reasonably happy with the options that we've got. Let's see how this season progresses. So for the game against AC Milan, away from home, which is a bit more tricky than we'd like, we're going with our controlled possession, and we've got a team today of Strakosha in goal, Vavro, Felipe and Serbia central defence. We've got Lazari on the right, Lulic on the left. We've got Gagliardini and Milinkovic-Savic and Alberto in central midfield, with Correa supporting Immobile just up top, and pretty much the rest on the bench. Well, the only player that's really out today is Anderson, and he's got a bit of a knock for a couple of weeks. There is one more player I forgot to tell you about, and it's just this guy, Palombo, who was in our under-20s and out on loan last season. We needed a third place striker in our rotation and behind Greenwood and Immobile, and this was a good enough option to have just hanging around the club if need be. Again, Italian, which helps, and he'll get some game time here and there, but mostly it's going to be Immobile supported by Greenwood in the striking option. So that's the team, that's the bench, that's the setup. Let's get into the first game of the season and see what happens. So first off, in the first game, we've just let the assistant manager try and encourage the team just to go out there and play free-flowing football and enjoy the game and try and get a positive start to the season, which I think we're more than capable of doing. I mean, you can see that AC Milan have got some decent players in. They've obviously bought Edouard from Celtic over the summer probably, and a couple of others in there. They've got some good players, but I think we're doing okay. I think I like most of this setup is decent, I think. And we've got a lot better options, especially central midfield wise, off the bench. So there's always room for changing the game as we progress. And with the likes of Greenwood in reserve, I think we've got some pace and some potential up front as well. So I think all in all, I'm reasonably happy with how we're going to go about this season. I'm just really, really unhappy that we've gone through another first half with no blooming highlights to talk about. It's either all or nothing, isn't it? They all come in one game and it goes mad for a half, and then in the next 3 games you get nothing to talk about. Anyway, we got through to half time, so we've got to be reasonably happy that away from home that we're holding Milan. So we've been the better side. Just keep on doing what you're doing. I don't even know whether that's true. I just want to try and encourage them and get them back out on the pitch, enjoying their football really. So let's just say, let's get creative and see what that does. And that inspires them for a little while. So can we finally create some form of chance? Look at this one chance we've had, not good enough. We're going to pause the game for a second. We're at 71 minutes. AC Milan have had 6 shots on goal, 50-50 possession. We've only had 2 on goal. So do we take a chance of going more attacking away from home, or do we go defensively and draw them in and try and counter-attack? And I think that's actually what we're going to do. Might sound a bit counterintuitive, but what I want to do is draw them a little bit onto us, further onto us, and then let the team counter on them a little bit and see whether we can gain anything through that mechanism. So what have we got? Immobile's not playing particularly well. Greenwood comes on for him. We've got Lazari down the right hand side, so Marisic comes on for him. And we've got one other to make, and I'm going to take one of these yellow cards out of the loop, and we're going to give a debut to Locatelli, and we're going to bring Milinkovic-Savic off just for the yellow card, really, just to keep everybody available to us for as long as possible, really. So we'll see how that goes as we just try and soak up a bit of pressure and counter-attack. Can we have one highlight, maybe? Unfortunately, the highlight is for Milan, but it's gone straight into the arms of Strakosha. Now, if the highlight ends at this point, that was the most dull highlight in the world. But hopefully, we can't do anything with it. We've given it straight back to them. What was Strakosha doing? It should have been a lot more subtle than that. Even though we're in the last 10 minutes of the game, I was hoping that he'd keep it on the ground and get it into our midfield at least. But it's Milan that have been able to come back at us because of that. And they get a near post cross in, but we get a good header clearance. We're having to really defend very well in this last few minutes of the game. Again, we get the headed clearance, but again, Milan pick up the loose ball and they come back down at us down the right-hand side this time. On the top of the box, back out wide right to Calabria, and that was a good attempt at goal, but it goes narrowly wide and we get a goal kick from it. Now surely we can have one attempt, surely that's worth a highlight for the entire game. But it's Milan again. Can we build something from the back? Alberto with it. He goes early up to Greenwood. Greenwood takes control very nicely, turns and runs at the defence, and then has a real pot shot on his left foot, and it goes slightly narrowly wide. But at least we attempted to do something down the end of the pitch, which was just taken far too long to do. But you can see, finally, we've got our passing boots on as well, and we've controlled the ball well there until that slightly long ball. And again, that's not how we want to be doing it. I know we're trying to counter-attack, but we've got to be a bit more subtle about it. Locatelli with the ball. Greenwood again, released from his defending marker, and he puts it against the post. Oh, so agonising. We had that one chance to get a decent opportunity. We found it, and then we put it against the post. It's a good result against AC Milan away from home, I think. I think it's going to be decent for us when we look at how Milan do for the rest of the season. But even so, that last second, that Greenwood attempt against the post was just excruciatingly painful after what was a really dull game. Really dull. But it's just unfortunate, really, that there's not enough to talk about halfway through each of these games. Anyway, we made some debuts. We got a 0-0 draw against Milan. We didn't let a goal in, which is encouraging for our defence because we were under a little bit of pressure here and there. It leaves us fairly comfortable in third place just at the start of the season before hardly anybody's had a game. So that will change. And we'll have to see how the first few games of the season go. There's some a challenging game up next, but then a couple of easier ones as well, which is positive. So we're going to wait till Udinese for the next game of the season. We're going to go through the season slightly quicker than we did previously. So Udinese will be up next. By that time, I'll talk to you about our Euro Cup draw for the group stages as well. So that will be fun to see who we get there. And I'm sure we'll keep you up to date with that as we go through the season. But of course, in this series, we do focus solely on the Italian Serie A, really, just because that's the intention of the save is to try and win that particular competition. So that's where we're heading for the next little while. Join me for the next episode. I hope you will, and see how we progress with this new youthful-looking Lazio side. Probably a few bumpy moments along the way, but I hope eventually they'll get their stride and get used to playing together. So yeah, that'll do it for today. Thanks for joining me. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't and join my United City community. The more the merrier. If you enjoyed this particular episode, bit hit and miss here and there, but some good transfer market stuff, I think. If you enjoyed it though, click that like button. Help me get seen by lots of other people. Till next time, take care of yourselves. I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.